Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Bodybuilding Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you about a couple things as I'm doing some shoulder press here, just some standing shoulder presses in my garage. A few things I'm going to talk about. One thing is actually this comment that was made, which I really like these types of comments. That it's funny, right? This is like a growth of wisdom, you could say. There's a growth of wisdom always going on when you're open to different experiences and to see what everybody's doing. So what I mean by this is that when you take part in multiple experiments at once, right? You see a lot of different experiences from different people and you see what's working. You can learn at an exponential rate as opposed to just learning from your own body. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, one of the reasons why is because sometimes what somebody might be doing in their own workout routine might not totally apply to you, but maybe there's a principle that's threading through their training that also threads through your own that can benefit you. And a lot of times when you observe from this angle, you become more receptive. Right? You know how it is. Like if somebody's telling you a story and you're like, oh man, this person's just going to tell me a bunch of BS, right? You kind of block them out. But if you actually watch what people are doing and they're getting results, I'm not saying they're not getting results, but if they're actually getting results, you'll start to see that, maybe there's something that you've been blind to that now you can see. And that one thing might be the missing foundational variable that you need to incorporate into your training. Like I have lots of people that come onto this channel all the time where there's like, I first saw you train years ago and I saw a couple of videos and I immediately thought you're stupid and then I went away. And then they go through an 8-year hiatus, right? And then I don't see them. And then all of a sudden they pop up in the comments like 6, 7, 8 years later, like, hey, I finally know now what you were saying, right? I finally get it, right? But what really happened was there's a decision inside them that chose to see something from a new perspective and to say, okay, maybe there's something here going on that I'm not aware of and maybe I can become aware of something new, right? So yeah, if you think you know everything, you're not gonna learn anything. That's the truth. And I think it's the curse of anybody that's achieved any success. Once you get successful at something, you're like, oh, okay, this is it. I've got the secret, The secret is just this rep range, or the secret is just do this type of exercise, right? And then of course the body throws you a curveball and then you're forced to learn something new again, So an example of this is a guy in the comments made a comment and at first it seemed a little absurd to me, at first, right? But I really looked because the way he formulated this comment seemed as if it was really well thought out, and at the same time he did say that he double checked and triple checked in his little experiment to see if this was true. And what he was saying was that when he does slow repetitions, he can get more reps in a set than when he's doing fast repetitions with the same weight. And I'm like, that's totally absurd. That doesn't even make any sense, right? You think if you're doing fast repetitions, there's less time under tension as far as like the set lasts, shorter. When you do fast repetitions, usually the set is shorter in duration, right? So you don't run out of energy quite as fast usually. So you can get more repetitions, more explosive power, that sort of thing. So if I'm using, a certain weight, I could probably get 15 reps if I'm doing, 1 second reps as opposed to, only 4 reps if I'm doing 3 second reps, you know what I'm saying? So, or 4 or 5 anyway, somewhere around there. But this guy's saying he can get actually more reps if he does slow reps. Now, I thought to myself, I'm like, obviously this guy's not nuts. He's saying he's getting more results doing it this way, and he gets less results when he's doing the fast reps. What might be going on with him that's different than me? And I think a mistake a lot of people make is that they'll say, oh, that person's just crazy. Their observation skills are all crap. You're just nuts. They see Sasquatches and alien spaceships when they go out in the forest. You know what I'm saying? Like right away, they're the bodybuilding conspiracy theorist, right away. But the truth is that I thought about this and I thought, what if this person has a different dominant energy system? What if there's a dominant energy? Like say, for instance, somebody can store more creatine phosphate than another person. They might have a greater ability to contract with faster reps, as opposed to a person that does like real slow endurance type stuff. Maybe they're more glycogen dependent. Maybe there's something to do with the pathway. I'm just saying, I don't know the exact specifics, but there's something to do with the energetic pathway that is able to sustain that slow burn. Whereas we know when you do faster reps, you're actually accessing ATP and creatine phosphate primarily, and you run out of energy really quick, right? But for some reason, he's not able to get more reps even though he's doing that. So it could be a nervous system thing, or it could be maybe a muscle fiber dominance thing. Like what if he has a higher amount of slow twitch fibers as opposed to fast twitch fibers? Like on an amazing scale, like maybe way more than a lot of other people. Perhaps slow reps would be better for him, and he could probably get more repetitions because he's not wearing out those fast twitch fibers right away. These are just hypotheses I have, but I don't know for sure why that would be. But I know for a fact, if I do slow reps, I'm getting at least half the reps in a given set, as opposed to doing faster reps, right? And yeah, that's an interesting sort of thing. So sometimes you just see these interesting sort of perspectives and these experiences that can lead you to a greater understanding of this entire phenomenon called muscle growth and physical adaptation. So yeah, my theory is that perhaps it's a muscle fiber thing. That's my first theory. Another theory is maybe it's a nervous system thing. Like somehow there's some sort of something going on with the nervous system that when he fires the nervous system really fast, that maybe he just burns out real quick or something. So if somebody say has some sort of neurological weakness of some sort, not necessarily a pathology or an illness, but just maybe a weak link in that area, then maybe aggressively firing the muscles really fast can burn them out faster. That's a possibility. So yeah, so muscle fiber theory, and also neuromuscular theory, and energetic theory. Like say just the way the energy system pathways are working. Maybe there's some sort of buffering issue or something. I don't know what it might be, right? But really interesting. And this guy said he's putting on muscle doing it this way. So I always say, if you're putting on muscle and you're putting on your strength, then stick with what you're doing and see what the truth is in that, because that's really how you abolish all fanaticism and just basically become very stoic and practical about what's working. So yeah, I'm gonna do a couple sets of shoulder press in between chats. So yeah, let me just put a plate on the bar here. Nice. Mountain. Now I know a lot of times people talk about diet, and it's the same thing as with training, where somebody will find a certain diet, and I understand that the general principles of bodybuilding seem to apply to most, of course, right? You can't just eat like a gallon of vegetable oil every day and a bag of sugar and expect to put on muscle and recover and lose body fat, right? We know that. But what some people do is that they'll find a diet like carnivore or keto or vegetarian or whatever, and then they'll start saying, okay, this diet is the best thing, even though they've only done a year experiment on it, or 6 months or 5 years or whatever. But they'll look at all the research and say, okay, I see the research, and because the research is saying this and that, and it's justified this dietary decision because of this, because of that. Sometimes they'll get wrapped up in the excitement of the next trend instead of looking at what's really working for them, right? So I've had people attack me for what I do with my diet, and they're like sending me emails, oh, you're a bad person because you're not a vegetarian or whatever. Like there's lots of that shit that goes on. And then I've had these same people actually message me back a year and a half later and say, oh man, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I hit this roadblock with my diet and I didn't consider these other variables that might have been at work, that kind of thing. So basically, in alignment with what I'm saying, somebody just said to me that carbs are bad, basically, straight across the board. Like starches are bad because of oxalates and all this kind of stuff. And I would say that if starches were just blanket statement bad, performance wouldn't go up when they are eaten. Now, I did extensive experiments on performance when I was playing hockey, especially, but also when I was getting ready for competitions. I knew the guys that were going super low carb all the time, their muscles would end up flat and they'd look almost fat on stage. In a lot of cases, they would catabolize their muscle so fast that they would look stringy and worn out, but not necessarily pumped and lean. So there was some aspect of carbohydrates, regardless of how much, that was relevant to this bodybuilding thing. I saw that. And when I was playing hockey, I was eating mostly, like for periods of time, I would adjust my diet, but during a certain period of time, 2 or 3 months, I was eating mostly fats and protein because it was just convenient and I just did eat, lots of protein, eat salads, a little bit of olive oil on there, and there you go, right? Well, what happened was my performance on the ice went down, and I noticed that my heart rate was about 10 beats per minute, if not more, higher when I was trying to perform playing hockey. Now, the minute I upped my starches again, the symptom of fatigue immediately went away and I was able to perform better. So if carbohydrates are totally bad in all aspects, right, the performance wouldn't have changed so drastically to the positive. I had a client as well, this girl, she was taught by some fitness girl, right? And basically this girl was playing hockey as well. And she was told by this fitness girl to drop her carbs so she could drop weight and then she'll have a better strength to weight ratio, all this stuff. But the opposite happened. Her performance went down on the ice. And it was only when I started introducing carbohydrates into her diet again, along with her protein, that her performance went up. And it went up drastically. It was like the angels were singing to her, right? She was so happy about it because she couldn't understand what happened to her performance. So I'm going to say that there's always these dietary trends, right? There's these dietary fads that come around, but don't fall for them. Don't fall for the fads. Look at the research, look at the information, but in the end, apply to yourself and see what's helping you perform better, what's helping you feel better, what's helping you look better. Now, if you have, say, a certain disease pathology or something like that, this is a different thing. Now we're not talking bodybuilding. Now we're saying, hey, there's something causing some sort of disturbance in your system and you're trying to heal that as your primary source of medicine, right? You're trying to adjust your diet to adjust your health. Now, health is the most important thing. So I understand that sometimes when you're going through these health shifts, your performance is not the first priority. Your health is, of course, right? And if you're noticing that a certain dietary change is causing a positive impact in your system, I would say then you are right about your diet being right for you in this moment. But that doesn't mean that the other macros are just automatically bad for everyone. There might be specific reasons, kind of like giving a diabetic table sugar is not a good idea. You know what I mean? Right? You're giving them just straight sugar for their meals. It's really going to be devastating to them as opposed to Johnny down the street that has a fast metabolism, right? So it isn't about whether something's bad or not, or the villain or not. It's about what part of your system is broken and what part of your system is healthy. And that will also determine what is the best and most healthy diet for you. It's not always about, saturated fats, they're bad. It's not always so simple. That's all I'm saying. So the mistake people make is they have a certain experience and they get some positive benefit, which is great. But then they make a false leap of logic in saying, okay, this is the villain of the crime. Those starches, that's what caused all my problems. No, there could be a lot of other things in your system that caused your inability to basically digest the starches, right? Like what are your heavy metals like in your body? How many pesticides did you ingest in your life? And how many other types of toxins / medicines did you put in your body, right? These things can all mess up the body and confuse it, right? This is kind of why I resist these neurotic sort of, fanatics. They come on and That's it. This is the only way. That's the only way. It's really, it's more complicated than that. But if you're conducting the experiment, you have my absolute blessing, because I understand how complicated it is for all of us to find perfect health. I mean, that's what we're always trying to do. But sometimes be careful when it comes down to making leaps of logic that are extreme. That's all I'm going to say. You know, just that's all I'm saying. It's just like I don't drink alcohol, right? I never drink alcohol. But, you know, if I have a flu and somebody says, here's a hot toddy, and I have a really bad flu, and I have a sip of that, and it helps me go to sleep or something, so that way I can heal and get a proper fever and all that, then maybe I would do that, you know? So it's not always about black and white. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. That's it. Now you see me doing standing shoulder presses, but I do actually like seated shoulder presses better. I find when I'm doing standing, it engages the neck quite a bit. And sometimes when I get past a certain weight, it almost like it makes me feel like I'm gonna pass out. Because I think what's happened is that because of the labral tear on my shoulder, sometimes the neck muscles come in and they constrict and cuts off some of the blood supply to my head. So I find that when I'm doing seated, I don't get that issue at all. I just basically, you know, lean back into the seat, and I'm not engaging the neck quite as much. So that's sometimes a challenge. So, you know, one thing you also have to always take into account is taking in your strengths and weaknesses into account while you're training, and adjusting your exercises appropriately, or at least choosing exercises that seem to work for you. Like, I've seen so many guys in the gym over the years, and they'd always have that one exercise they don't do. You know, some of them, they wouldn't squat, or they wouldn't bench press, or they wouldn't do anything with barbells, or you know, there's all sorts of things, right? So, you know, the thing is, these guys usually had pretty good physiques and stuff too. So for most of the people that are familiar with all the foundational exercises and training ideas around natural bodybuilding, they'd be like, oh, how could you not squat, or how could you not deadlift, or how can you not do these things? But these guys knew that those movements caused more trauma than adaptation. And they would discard them because of that. Or they would adjust them. And like I've talked to you about, like adjusting the range of motion. So I don't deadlift in the floor, but I Romanian deadlift, right? So that would be a compromise there. So there are sometimes compromises you make around certain exercises, or around certain you know, types of training, or nutrition, you know. You know, some guys are like, oh, I have to have high carbs with every meal, and protein and low fat. Then other guys are like, no, I feel better when I'm a little bit more fat and less carbs, as long as my protein's there, you know. So there's these adjustments that you get to know as you go. And there's just no way around it. Becoming a great composer in a song, right? They're not following a formula anymore, right? Their ear is getting honed in to find out, okay, where's the musical note? And what does this sound like? And what's that sound like? And do these go together harmoniously? It's not just using the rules of keying and all that. Right, the right key to a song. I'm not much of a composer, so I mean, I make my own music, but I'm not much of a composer, so I don't have the lingo, right? But you'll see great artists, or sometimes great musicians, they step out of those rules and apply to what it is that they can hear, you know, that the masses can't hear. But once they put it on paper and then they put it into a song, all of a sudden it makes sense, right? So you're kind of doing this with your own song, your own workout program. It's like a song. There are certain general tendencies or themes that go through this song, but you're going to notice that there's some diversity in the notes from time to time that accentuate the song. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, see, genius stuff, right? This is why you guys come here. It's just genius. I tell you that. You know, it's too bad that barely anybody watches my videos, because if I had, you know, lots of people watching, we'd have a bunch of geniuses walking around. And who needs that? Who needs people to be smarter, wiser, and happier? Who needs that? I mean, I don't know about you, but I like it when the world is miserable. I like it. It's more fun. There's a lot more fights, a lot more stuff, you know, going on. It's pretty entertaining. It's like a Bruce Willis film, right? You know? But anyway, yeah. But that's about what I got to say. Is like sometimes you got to cater certain movements. You gotta adjust things. is totally normal. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that there's something specifically going on with you in this moment that you have to make corrections for, kind of like steering a boat down a river, right? Sometimes you got to use the rudder, you know? So it's not always a straight line down the river. Sometimes you got to zigzag a little bit. Mountain. So yeah, guys, I hope this helped you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now.